Hello, and welcome to the Your Food Matters podcast. I'm Dr. Sue Kleiner, here with my great friend and colleague, Erik Bustillo.
Hey Sue, hey everybody, thanks for joining us.
We are here on our podcast, enjoying, winding down to the end of the year here. If you're enjoying our podcast, and we sure hope you do, please hit that subscribe button. That really helps us out. And share us with your friends and your colleagues. We're on all the podcast platforms, and you can see us as well as hear us on the Move Nutrition channel on YouTube. We are so excited to be here today to talk about kind of a fun topic. I know I'm looking at my next year's travel calendar, and it is filling up, but nothing like Erik's calendar, I have to say. Um, and in order to travel, I don't know how you all feel out there, or you, Erik, but I know that there are just certain things in my diet, not to mention my exercise, that I must really have almost every day. Um, as kind of, I call them non-negotiables, so that I feel really good. And traveling just tries to knock the feeling good out of you until you get to where you're going. And especially when we're traveling and working, and there's so many responsibilities, and then going to conferences where you're really working from the morning minute you get up until you go to sleep, because you've got breakfast meetings and lunch meetings and dinner meetings and parties that are not really fun, they're really networking and all of that. So how do we keep ourselves feeling as good as we can? So we wanted to share some of those tricks with you, and you can pick them up if you want.
Yeah, the travel part is it's always interesting. It's lots of folks oftentimes say, "Oh, I wish I had your schedule," or "I wish I had your life," and I'm just kind of like, it's the the grass is greener, right? But
Right.
although I've always said, or at least when I learned this, I've always said a sense, the grass is greener where you water it. Um,
That's
so
a good one.
For sure, but it's also kind of like leads into controlling the controllables, right? And that's what it is with travel, because with travel, there's there's a lot going on, and there is a lot that can be out of our control. So when that happens, it's like you might have plans and bring your clothes to go to the gym X number of days, so you pack everything. From a food standpoint, you have an idea of things, but then dinners pop up, lunches pop up, or work just happens and it's unexpected, and next thing you know, you go X amount of hours without eating. The gym is closed in the hotel. You never know what might happen. So there's a lot of things that the curveballs that can be thrown, I guess.
Totally. Yeah. So I think about what are the moments in the day when you might actually have the most probability, and this is all a game of probabilities, the greatest probability of being in control. And for me, that starts first thing in the morning, right? Um if I'm thinking about food, we'll talk about our fitness and our exercise. But thinking about food, I know two things about breakfast for me. Well, I guess three. Number one is I wake up to eat. So skipping breakfast is gonna ruin my day.
Not an
So I
option.
want to, yeah, not an option. So I know I want to have breakfast. Number two, I hate the cost of breakfasts in hotels. And I just refuse to pay that on a regular daily basis. Before you leave, if 4 days in a hotel and you'll have spent $200 on breakfast, practically, maybe not quite, but close to eat the kind of healthy breakfast that we want, right?
Yeah.
So, so and number three, there are just certain foods that are super important for me, that keep me feeling good, and I want to make sure that I can get those foods in, and so I bring them with me. um, And it used to be really funny, frankly, to travel with flaxseed meal. I can't tell you how many borders and customs agents have picked that bag of brown flaky stuff, powdered flaky stuff up and said, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, you can tell it's nothing other than plant material, and it certainly isn't weed, and it's not cocaine. I mean, it's just ground flaxseed." And I've had it tested. I've actually had it taken away. But mostly these days, it goes with me. It makes it to the destination. And so my flaxseed meal, even if I take nothing else, I travel with flaxseed meal. And that is because, probably close to about 30 years ago and ongoing since then, but the original research that was done at Duke University showed that flaxseed meal, yes, it's high in alpha linolenic acid, which is a very important anti inflammatory omega 3 fat, but it is really robust in lignin, which is a type of fiber that is, it's abundant in flax and not in a lot of other foods, and seems to decrease symptoms of gastric upset, irritable bowel syndrome in particular. And at that time, I had some of those symptoms and I started on it, and coincidence or not, it definitely went away. And I have never almost had a day without it since. And I am amazingly healthy and can eat almost anything and have very rare, if ever, gastric disturbances. So I take that. That's my religion, is flaxseed meal.
Wow. That's it's cool to hear because I think before the customs and all of that may I think they're still pretty strict, but I think it's become more common to see people traveling with food and snacks and that kind of
Right,
thing, you know? Even
right. Yeah,
supplements, like people travel with protein powder and stuff.
yeah. But a
Right.
rolled up baggie of this stuff, they 30 years ago was a little unusual. But anyway,
For sure.
um, it's really important for me. So you think, well, how the heck do you consume that? Well, it can go in a bowl of cereal, and that's really how I eat it at home. And so I try and replicate that wherever I go. And so typically, for instance, if I'm staying not at someone's home, but on my own, not at an Airbnb, but in a hotel, I actually travel with a plastic bowl and a plastic spoon. I take puffed Kamet cereal. That's just my favorite cereal. It's a puffed cereal that stays kind of crunchy. It doesn't get soggy like puffed rice. I have my dosed out 2.5 tablespoons of flaxseed meal. I usually take some kind of dried fruit, maybe some nuts, and I make sure that I find milk. So, in most hotel rooms that I stay in, at least, I can get a refrigerator. And so I'll go out and I'll get some milk. I'll purchase, enough milk for the number of days. Or you can just go to the local coffee shop and get a cup, go out, get your early morning walk, come back with your cup of milk and eat your cereal. So that's what I do. And then if I have a breakfast meeting, I can go and order eggs and my coffee, and I look just as normal as anybody else. Nobody knows that I've already had my cereal. And the cost of that meal is way less than if I was trying to eat a full meal. Um, if I'm not having breakfast with anyone else, I am also known to travel with hard boiled eggs. So,
I think that the idea of traveling with things, traveling with your containers, utensils, and that sort of thing. Some people might think, wow, that's like obsessive or whatever else. Um, but honestly, I think that things like that should be encouraged. Like that's us taking control. If we're trying to be healthy, right? If we're going to be in an environment that we don't control a whole lot, and life as it is, we don't control a whole lot. So if you can bring your own thing, then wonderful. Um, and to add to that, some hotels will also have milk for you. Like they might have the little cartons of milk if you're okay
Right?
with drinking those. And just recently, I was staying in a hotel, and um, my partner, she sent me like some cookies as a surprise, and I was like, a glass of milk would be great with these. So I asked at the front desk, and the gentleman was like, no, we don't have milk, but if you go to the restaurant, ask them for a glass and they should be able to help you. So there was a
Oh,
restaurant
cool.
on the mezzanine floor,
Yeah.
and I walked in that right at the greeting station, the host, he I asked him and he was like, yeah, just give me 1 second. Got me a cup of milk and I enjoyed my chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, sweet.
So, asking for things is it's also an option. So bringing your own
Right.
things, asking for things too, and hopefully being budget friendly.
Yeah, and so I it's not that hard anymore to take hard-boiled eggs. Most grocery stores have them actually already pre-packed in little plastic containers. I do make my own. I leave them in the shell cuz that is safer as far as food safety issues and temperature control. If you keep a hard-boiled egg in the shell, it stays, unrefrigerated. It stays safe, microbiologically for a very long time. um, I I look at it. People say, "Well, why? Why do you make these choices?" Where I told you about my flax, I want a whole grain, and that Kamet cereal gives me my whole grain. My dried fruit is yummy. It's also full of micronutrients. I don't have fresh fruit that I'm traveling with that I put on my cereal. Banana for me like gets too mushy and yucky. I don't travel with bananas, and apples often also. I mean, they're good if you eat them right away, but I don't like them on my cereal, honestly. So dried fruit works really well, and I get fiber from that as well if you want to think about it, but mostly I'm thinking about what's going to taste good at
Hmm.
this point. And milk is just a staple for me. I can have cow's milk. I have no problem with digestion. It's a great source of protein. It gives me my bone building minerals. And the one thing I neglected to say is I travel with a shaker bottle, a blender bottle, and whey protein and creatine, and I put it all together, shake it up, and I put that on my cereal in the morning if I'm not going to have eggs, right? So that way I do have a really mobile, easy way to get a slug of protein, get in my creatine, and like my day has started amazingly well at that point. I've got, close to 40 grams of protein. I've got maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 grams of fat. Really healthy fat. And I've got a good slug of carbs, maybe around 35, 40 grams. And I am good to go. I am feeling great. So the rest of the day almost doesn't matter, right? Like the rest of the day, I can control as much as possible, but I have gotten such a good start.
Yeah, and that's usually a good place to start off with, right? Because I think for a lot of people, they don't start off on the right foot, if you will, and that kind of throws them off track. Uh, so just getting that good bit of protein to start you off, and that's for me, I bring things not as much as you do, because usually what I'll do is a lot of times the breakfast will be included when I travel for the
Oh,
workshops that
right.
I travel for. So the eggs and potatoes and the yogurt and the cereal that I usually eat, I like feast myself
Yeah.
with this breakfast, prioritizing protein and also taste. Um, but times that it's not included, sometimes I will pay for the breakfast, and it depends on the hotel restaurant. It might be like $12, $14 in another place, or I'll go to somewhere nearby. Like I'll go to maybe like a Panera and get like an oatmeal
Mhm.
that they might have,
Yeah.
or something along. And I will say there have been times when I've even gotten like the McDonald's or the Burger King breakfast. I might
Mhm.
just have like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit or something like that. It's
Mhm.
not the norm, but these are all of the potential things that happen. I also, to prioritize protein, if I'm going to be somewhere for more than a day, uh, I'll usually go to a local store that
Mhm.
sells ready to drink shakes.
Mhm.
And they usually sell them. I don't like getting just an individual bottle, so I'll get like a pack of four from
Mhm.
whichever brand, and I'll put them in the hotel refrigerator, and I'll drink like two per day.
Right.
And I usually go for the 30 grams of protein one. And then
Do
things
you have
that,
a brand? I mean, we can just say, I mean,
yeah,
we people need to know, like, what
yeah,
do you
yeah,
buy?
for sure. There's a Premier Protein is
Mhm.
one, and Quest is those are the two main ones that I'll typically buy, the little four packs.
Mhm.
Um, if I ever buy an individual one, which I try to avoid because of the cost, I can get four at 30 grams of protein for probably no more than $10. Um, where like if I were to buy Core Power, which I really like, which
Mhm.
is either 26 or 42 grams of protein, I'm gonna pay, you know, at least $3 and change for
Right.
one bottle.
Right. Right.
Um, so I usually go for the Premier Protein or the Quest ready to drink shakes. Um, and then a lot of times what I'll also do is I do bring little snacks with me. So the Quest protein chips is
Mhm.
one thing that I'll do. Easy to travel with. I just throw it in my backpack. Um, I'll also do bars. So I
Mhm.
will do protein bars. Sometimes I'll travel with jerky, like a beef jerky.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And fruits also. Fruit, it's got its own wrapper. Like I'll bring a banana with me
Right?
or an apple.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
portable nutrition. Um, and I also travel with my supplements. I don't bring creatine with me, at least not usually. But I do bring like the supplements that I take, magnesium, vitamin D, omega
Mhm.
3. I travel
Mhm.
with those in like a little container. Um, and I'll bring some extra like vitamin C chewables for when I travel. Um, and that's kind of my usual routine. And I always have my bottle with me.
Right.
So I just
Right.
fill it up with
Travel with us.
ice, fill it up with
Yep.
water, and I'm
Right.
ready to go.
Ready to go. So my snacks, we have a local cheese maker here, Beecher's Cheese, and they make cheese sticks, like mozzarella cheese sticks, except they're really sort of delicious, taste like it's real cheddar cheese. And so those are my go-tos when I'm here in Seattle and I can pick them up. Um, our Costco, I think, carries them here. I don't know if Costco carries them nationwide, but any of the mozzarella cheese sticks, those are really easy to travel with you. Um, and that's kind of a go-to. Nuts, I always take some bag of nuts with me, jerky for sure. Um, my other supplements, yeah. So I take my vitamin D. And now I'm taking ahi flour. I have to admit, I've switched from fish oil, um, and my calcium. And I take a sort of an eye health supplement, and then I take my electrolyte boost with me to keep me. That's again more choline. It keeps me sort of. It just supports my hydration. Um, Keeps me from dehydrating as quickly as I probably would, and it's just kind of. It's just a nice kind of mental boost, and so I use that. Other things, every once in a while I will actually take some instant coffee with me, a good brand of instant coffee, but typically I will get to a coffee shop if I can. I have to say I love my morning coffee.
Mhm.
um, and I do take tea bags with me. So I take chamomile tea bags because so many of the hotel rooms now you can make tea, and so I have you can get hot water. So in the evening, just to try and chill out a little bit, I will bring chamomile tea with me. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm really kind of neurotic, but I'm actually not. It's a system that works for me. I know I feel good, and if I don't have it, it's, for a couple of days, not a big deal, but it does, like Jamie Tarter talked about. I keep going back to her comment about the brain being a predictive machine and how much the brain likes ritual and to know what's coming. And I think travel is stressful. And so any little tricks that we can use to de-stress keeping your routines that you have at home and bringing them on the road with you seems to me like a smart idea. And so I've just been doing it forever, and it works for me. I'm not taking some big container, I'm not traveling with a whole like food suitcase. It's just a Ziploc bag full of stuff that goes into either my backpack or my carry-on. Um and it's pretty simple, straightforward stuff.
Yeah, and we like our routines. We like to have the repetitiveness of things, humans. Uh, and at the end of the day, we are a result of what we repeatedly do, and travel doesn't exclude,
Right.
anything that we're trying to accomplish. In fact, a lot of times, what I'll tell patients and clients, I'm like, when you travel, try to stick to your routine at home. Try to stick to that as best as you can when you travel. Calories, excuse me, calories still count when you travel. Your physical activity and fitness is still important when you travel. And like you said, if it's, one day or a couple of days that you're, off track or whatever, not a big deal, right? The important thing is get back to your regularly scheduled program as soon as you can. But if we
Right.
can avoid or prevent that from happening, then we're just setting ourselves up for success there.
Yeah. And so then the kind of the flip side of all this is your fitness routine, as you said, and or the connected partner to your nutrition. And I've talked about how I certainly know people who find the local gyms and do their lifting. I have to admit that unless I'm at a gym I'm in at a hotel that has a really good gym very nearby, it is not what I seek out when I'm traveling. I will leave my lifting behind and do, body weight exercise to maintain my strength, not worry about progressing, and then but certainly try and get out and work my heart. And so whether that's I talk about sometimes in my hotel room with bands and push-ups and sit up, I always put a towel on the floor. I tell everybody, don't lay down on the carpet in the hotel room, please. Put a towel down.
Sanitary purposes.
but but yeah, I mean, do the old fashioned calisthenics, and try not to do it at 4 in the morning if you're, not on the ground floor. But old fashioned calisthenics, take the exercise bands with you for some resistance. And I think those are great. If you can get to a gym, do that. Get out. Definitely try and get outside. And that's the killer at these conferences, is that you barely get any time outside. So try and get out, breathe some fresh air, and get in a walk. Do be conscious of your safety and your surroundings. Have some situational awareness around you, depending on the location of where you are. But and make some of your if you are on vacation, make it an active vacation if you can.
Most definitely, yeah, and it's so true. Like even at ISSN, that it's pretty much always by the beach.
Right.
Even with that, it's hard to get out and walk around and enjoy the outside. So yeah, making it a point to
Well,
get out.
last year it was either like 1,000 degrees in humidity or it was pouring. So I did get a few mornings outside, though, I have
Good.
to admit, but it had to be really early for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is one of the things, like you mentioned, your best time to do things like with your food and all of that. Like if we could stay on a sleep schedule when we travel, just getting to bed at an early enough time to wake up early enough to do these things, because that's when maybe everybody else is either still asleep or a lot isn't happening. We can prepare certain food things, or we can go and get a workout in the hotel or go for a walk. You know, I am an advocate of moving as often as we can. So using the hotel gym is great if there is a hotel gym. Things inside the hotel room. one thing that I do enjoy doing, and this is, I think it's a pretty common thing in the CrossFit community, is finding a CrossFit gym in the
Mm-hmm.
city where I'm at and dropping in. I mean, I guess depends where you are. It can cost anywhere between $20 and $40 to drop in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that's a little bit pricey to drop into a gym. Ideally, it'd be like $5. But I also see them as smaller businesses, and it's kind of cool to be able to support them if I can. And it's just, you get a nice workout, and for me, I'm able to maintain my usual routine
Right.
of getting those kinds of workouts in. But hotel gyms, a lot of times, will have some form of cardio equipment, potentially a cable machine and dumbbells. At least the ones
Mm-hmm.
that I've been to often. You can make a great exercise, workout routine happen from that. Um, and if you're able and willing, like you said, if you can travel with bands, resistance bands are so great. And then, of course, you always have your body. If you can do squats and push-ups, you can get a great workout with that,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right. And a jump rope. That's kind of my go-to. I love
Yeah,
taking a jump rope, but like I said, if you're not on the first floor, don't do it at 4 in the morning.
for sure.
um, but I one person that's always been an inspiration to me with her exercise and her joyful approach to fitness is my older daughter, and I think this probably started while she was in college, and she did her study abroad in Paris. And she had never been a runner; it was not her thing. She actually was a rower, and but when she went to Paris, she said, "Mom, I really want to eat." She loves food. I want to eat everything. And so in order to sort of maintain my health and my body while I'm in Paris, I've signed up to do a half marathon. So she signed up for the Paris half marathon, and she said, "And I am going to run and eat my way through Paris." So she mapped out her runs, everything online, of course. And this was the very beginning of Map My Run. So she could map her run and her fitness program, her training program online, along the routes of all the bakeries she wanted to try in Paris. and she and that was her motivation, and she would run and get to a bakery. And when she was traveling, because when you're studying abroad, you're with a group of friends very often, and every other weekend or whatever, they're traveling all around Europe, and everyone would go out partying at night, and because she had her training program, she needed to go to sleep. And if they'd only be, say, in Vienna for 2 days, she got up early in the morning and did, a 10K or more run around areas of Venice that nobody else in her group saw.
Wow.
And it was she I remember her texting me saying, "Oh my god, I was up and out. It was just, there was a dusting of snow. It was so beautiful. By the time I got back, the whole rest of the crew was still asleep, and I had seen, these extraordinary sights in Vienna." And so you can really find joy in all of that, in the discovery of places that otherwise you wouldn't see.
For sure. And that goes to the saying of the early bird gets the worm. She was able to knock these things out of the park, and that's so fun. She did it in such a cool way.
Yeah.
But maintaining those routines, right? I can't stress that enough with your nutrition, with your fitness. Control what you can, and give yourself grace when you can't get to the things that you usually like to do on your regular routine.
Oh, definitely. So to all of you staying home, um, you are, enjoy the coziness of home, and the welcoming of I hope loved ones around you, or those who you care about around you. And Eric, I think I know I'm staying home. I do not like to travel during these few holiday weeks. That's for sure. But we'll be welcoming people here, and there's going to be a lot of eating and a lot of bacon going on, and it's going to be fun.
All the good stuff. Yeah, it's a good time to spend with loved ones, and But also don't forget to spend a little time alone. We got to
Right.
keep doing the things that we can for ourselves. So spend time with the loved ones and love yourself also for sure.
Totally. Well, happy holidays, Eric.
Thank you. Same
And
to you.
we'll see you uh, in a week.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, everyone. Don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and share us with your friends. This is the Your Food Matters podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.